All right, we're live. Let's give them some couple minutes. Get some people in there. So how was your day today?
Good, nice day.
What time did they bring those chips by?
Well, he brought one this morning, and then the one that came probably this afternoon, probably like maybe 4.
Oh, so there's 3 loads out there?
There's 3 loads, yeah.
Mm.
They brought 2 today.
Was it just one big one yesterday?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Gotcha.
I suspect they're probably doing a big job here, probably down at East Glenview.
Yeah. Here's the. There we go. Now we've got one person. Paul, you were such an inspiration of God and gardening. Awesome stuff. God bless.
Thank you,
Sam. Oh, we've got 10 people watching. Cool. All right. Well, I guess we can start with these questions. All right. Hello. I will be starting my first Back to Eden garden in the next few weeks. For planting, starting spring. Okay, whatever. I'm tired. Blah blah blah. 2020. I want to do it right, and there seems to be different opinions on the Facebook pages I follow. I have access to chips, mulch, and compost. What's the best order to lay them down, and approximately how many inches of each?
Well, compost first, the chips after that. Garden space, no more than 4 inches total because you got to pull it back to plant in the soil. So more than 4 inches is a lot of material to move. But any of those things are great. Just whatever you have the easiest access to, they all work.
And as far as the order, I do your compost first, and you can probably put as much compost as you can get, and then your 4 inches or 3 to 4 inches of chips on top.
Yeah. And if the compost is broke down enough, you can plant right in that.
Yeah. You can even use compost just as your covering.
Yeah.
I mean, that's for the. I don't know what just happened. That's for the most part what you do.
Well, yeah, those fine wood chips are pretty
that's-
much compost.
Yeah. It's composted wood chips, more or less.
Hi, Amy. Good, nice to have you.
Do you have any bird and insect control?
No, the birds get blueberries, but there's plenty for all of us. Deter insects, so I don't, want to kill insects. I don't look at the plants well.
And the healthier the plant, the sweeter the berry, and the sweeter the berry, the less the birds will eat them. They'll get full on less berries. So focus on your soil. There's another part to that question, but I don't remember where it is. Oh, she just went on to say, I'm on clay, 3 distinctive different layers or deep layers of clay soil and small rocks throughout. I plan to plant both fruit trees and vegetables. Thank you and God bless.
All right. Well, nice to see you, busy little house.
Hey, the mod's back.
I got a lot of slugs here, but they don't bother my plants. If you have healthy plants, they won't bother them.
It's crazy in the evenings. There's like thousands of slugs.
Our garden, yeah, they're all in the grass, and I just pick them up and give my chickens when I have time.
I did find one big one of those banana slugs out front, but there's no slug damage on any of my plants.
No.
He was just chilling because I had the water going. Any questions on here?
All right, Vermont. That's pretty far north.
Okay. Start to die, turn brown, affected by bugs. Do you recommend removing those leaves? I don't know if she's talking to me or you, because
I don't know. Yeah, pruning is a stimulant, so that will definitely encourage the plant to put on more growth. So that's good.
yeah, I would say the same
What
thing.
did you guys do this week? Well, I planted some more spinach. I got 3 loads of wood chips. One last night and then 2 today. It was awesome. So that was really cool. Um, what else? I don't know, just typical
You went
stuff.
up the mountain.
Yeah, went up to we live in a beautiful place up in Deer Park. The view is like exceptional. It's just incredible. Excuse me.
Bless you. Sorry, guys, I'm really tired. Okay, I tried to think it through and wondered if I did this, would the bug now crawl into the big open stem? Oh, I gotcha. The squash leaves are hollow.
Don't worry.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. Then she says, should I plant my squash seeds in different places each year?
I don't. If you look in nature, there's no crop rotation. Plants go to seed in the same place every year. They drop their seeds, and for decades, centuries, they all grow in the same place. And I'm planting my squash in the same place every year, and they just keep getting better. They're fine.
Yeah, but if you have a squash bug problem,
then move it.
Yeah, I would probably move it because the squash bugs, like, they overwinter in the soil. So wherever your plants are, they're going to overwinter right there, knowing that next year, whatever seeds supposedly dropped right there and sprout up, there's going to be food for their next generation. So definitely move it.
Powdery mildew is an issue of dampness and no light. So ideally, open things up so you get good air circulation and light, and you should be good. It'll clear up.
Okay, somebody says, I keep hearing that Paul doesn't use wood chips anymore in his established beds. Would you please talk about that and how he dresses his garden beds now if he no longer uses them?
I'm using wood chips. They're just screen. I'm using the fine material, but it's the same wood chips.
Yeah. They're like composted wood chips, but screened. So there's like little tiny chunks of wood. More compost, probably. Any questions in here? Cool. Okay, we've got 20 people. Do any of you have any questions? I'm just going through the list on Facebook that I posted this morning. Here's one. How does Paul keep raccoons and squirrels out of his fruit trees?
A good dog. I don't have one yet, but when I used to have good dogs, they keep everything out of here. They're the best. Strawberries, you can, every fall when they go dormant, just a light cover over the whole bed, cover the whole thing about 1 inch deep, and you're good. You'll see in the spring it's so nice. The old plants can't push through the wood chips, so they just die and become fertilizer. And the young ones push through, and you have this beautiful staggered bed of productive plants, and it's really saves so much time instead of having to thin. Oh, thank you, Bizaz. I'm looking for a good dog. It's going to be such a blessing. The dogs we had in the past were so good, and I really miss not having one. So I'm praying for a good dog too. Thank you.
All right, here's a good question. Kind of goes into the whole squash bug thing in a way. Crop rotation concerns. Every single gardening method advocates rotating where certain plants were located every year to deal with disease issues. I'm not confident enough yet to replant the nightshades, tomatoes, peppers, potatoes, etc. In the same place every year. And our plot is relatively new. Would be nice to have a straight answer from him about rotating where we locate our crops.
In the same place for decades, and they just get better every year. So again, I look in nature, there's just no crop rotation. All plants go to seed in the same place. They fall in the ground and they grow, continuously. So it's just I don't ever see that as really being any benefit.
Yeah, unless you've got unhealthy soil, then your potatoes could get scab. But in wood
But the
chips, they're
whole point
fine.
is get your focus on getting your soil good,
Yeah.
and then everything else is going to fall into place. It'll be good.
Yeah. Let's see if we got anything here.
What are brown spots on tomatoes all about?
Are the brown spots on your leaves or on the fruit? Unless you said something and I missed it. Okay, on the fruit. Brown spots.
I've never seen it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to see it. Like brown scabs on the fruit, almost like splitting. Could be too much water and really cool nights. I don't know what's like the nighttime temperature where you're at. Because it could be a magnesium deficiency or even a calcium deficiency. Paul, I'm still battling tomato fungal issues, and I didn't put enough leaves onto my garden. The Bermuda grass keeps creeping into the edges.
Okay, what you want to do is create a cement curb along your edge. Cement works really great. It's really cheap. You can use that bender board, and you can make nice edges. You don't have to have everything straight. And a 4x4 concrete curb will keep the Bermuda from coming in. You'll stop it.
And a good weed whacker.
Yeah, make a good edge.
Yeah. Where did my post go?
I had a tomato fungus in my tomatoes I've grown for years in this really special place. But the ones under my trees got the same rain that caused the fungus on the ones in my special place, and they weren't bothered. So I'm really, really getting the idea of growing under trees is just so beneficial.
That could also, because you've planted tomatoes there every year for a while, that could be like a soil-borne, like the blight came in maybe at the end of last season and overwintered there. So who knows?
But it came after the rain because they were really clean for quite a while. Right after that rain, it's just
what happens with blight is when the water hits the ground, it splashes the blight spores. They kind of just go, and then they get on the leaves and just develop. So
you prune elderberries the same as you prune anything. Pruning is the same principle for whatever you're doing. Opening up, having full airspace, nothing crossing over, and you prune. It's not no time of year is it really really important. But now, like I say, I prune my trees all summer long. These shoots that happen. So I just pruned blueberries yesterday because there had some dead in them. So just whenever it's convenient and you feel like it, just go ahead and prune.
okay, what kind of seeds do you suggest for starting seedlings indoors?
Well, I have my chickens create the nicest compost on the planet, and whenever I want to start seeds, I just go in there and get that.
All right, and then this guy. I visited last summer. How did your rice turn out?
Well, it grew great. I got planted really late, didn't mature, but it really grew great. It headed up, and it looked wonderful. I grew persimmons in California. They did really well, and we had really nice ripe persimmons. I really enjoyed them.
All right, somebody said people say to keep chips moist, but it takes so much water to do this. And then she said, where'd it go? How important is it to keep them moist?
Well, the top of the soil where the roots are, that should be moist. The top doesn't matter if it's moist.
The surface will dry out. The whole point of having the wood chips is
to hold water at the root level.
Yeah. Why can't I find my post? Found it. Okay. You answered that one, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Let's see. Okay, hello there. I have a question. Um, we do not have wood chips, or it is not common here in our country, but we have plenty of rice hulls. Is it also the same when using rice hulls slash rice husks?
Yeah, anything organic will work. The advantage of wood chips is they have fungi, but if you don't have it, just use any your rice hulls, your rice, the straw, all that will work really well.
Yeah, pretty much any organic matter. The only thing about the rice hulls is, what's her name? Sarah Nunez on Facebook. She made a good point. She said with just rice hulls, they could blow away if you get like a strong gust of wind, like and they're dry.
Uh,
But if you're utilizing other, like, what's the word I'm thinking of? Just natural materials like other
Leaves,
leaves
yeah,
and
grass
like,
clippings.
yeah, if you grow comfrey, well, you go grow comfrey, you can cut the leaves back and use that as a mulch. That works great. Grass clippings, all sorts of stuff. Let's see.
Well, roots are going to establish in soil that's open to them. If it's hard compacted soil, it's not gonna establish. So you want to get material over the soil to bring life to it, to soften it, to establish a place for roots to grow in. I find the roots don't go so much deep as they come to the surface. They go where life is, and it's hilarious. By sequoia trees out here, you just barely move the needles on the top, and the roots are right there. They're right at the top of the ground.
Okay, well, here's a question. The first one you've kind of answered a lot, but the second part would be a good one. Um, how do you handle bug infestations, and what do you use as fertilizer?
I don't use fertilizer and bug infestations. I don't. It doesn't bother me because they don't hurt the plants. If my plants are well, the bugs don't bother them.
But as like a natural fertilizer, you do use the chicken manure in your
But
garden.
the chicken manure in that compost is
It's like,
probably
yeah,
1 part per 1,000 part
yeah.
of organic, yard
Well,
waste.
okay, so compost is
Compost, yeah,
fertilizer.
compost is a fertilizer. But the wood chips
Yeah,
are fertilizer. I mean,
yeah.
all organic material turns back to dirt and fertilizes the ground. Right
Okay.
now, we don't have any wildfires. Here it's not that dry yet, but they do happen.
Yeah, put your questions in all caps because on top of me being tired, I can't really see the best. So with the computer like 2 feet away, that's pretty bad. It's only 2 feet away.
It doesn't matter how high you put wood chips up next to blueberry bases or tree
Yeah.
bases because it's full of air. It's not going to compact. And so all this insanity here you can't put against tree trunks or blueberry trunks is utterly foolish. And if you look in nature in the woods when the wind blows, needles and leaves bank up against tree trunks a foot and a half deep. No one pulls them away. The trees are fine. So again, these stupid things they tell you is just I don't know where they get them because it makes no sense.
And the cool thing about blueberries is like it's kind of like mound layering. You'll get more roots off of the base of the blueberries if you've got wood chips, say 8 inches deep up your plants. I mean, you don't want to bury the plant, so there's only a couple inches sticking up, but
Chickens in the
yeah.
garden to clear up bugs is really great. Just make sure you have no plants there because the plants won't survive. But if you want to clear a space of bugs, chickens will do the finest job. And them homogenizing the wood chips in is a benefit. There's not going to not be anything negative about chickens on the ground.
No, did we not answer that? Sorry. What kind of soil to start seeds in the spring? You just direct sow.
I just plant right in the garden. I don't, just my garden soil.
But if you are gonna start stuff indoors, I always use coconut coir and then like sometimes I'll put like vermiculite in it and what's the other thing? Just worm castings. You use like different compost teas and stuff. You don't want to use any soil that's been sitting outside for a while because you can bring in fungus gnats, but use whatever seed starting mix. Sorry. All right.
Potting soil is a real, if it's got peat moss and vermiculite, those are sterile. Nothing grows in them.
Yeah.
So
that's where the worm castings and the compost tea would come in handy.
Yeah, worm castings is ideal. That's the best.
Yep. Yeah, but for growing inside, you definitely want something sterile. You can bring bugs in the house, and that's not always fun. All right, here's one. What's your favorite story in the Bible and why?
I don't know if there's any favorite story, but I love the book of Esther because the name of God is not mentioned one time in the entire book. It's the only book in the Bible his name is not mentioned at all, but yet he moves incredibly through the whole book, powerfully. It's just such an incredible story. I love that book of Esther.
All right, you guys, ask them questions real quick, and Paul will answer them. And I've got to respond to somebody real quick to make sure they can figure out how to get on here. They're missing out. Can't figure it out.
Carol's overseeing a friend today. One of her friends from Russia lives over in where is that? Forks, and she's out visiting her today. Willow's outside. Where Willow always stays outside.
Yeah. Okay, I'm back. Okay, he asked what kind of seeds to use, but I thought he asked in the post before something about seeding. I don't know. Either way, use seeds. Seeds are seeds. Order from a good company like Fedco. Right?
Yeah.
Or save your own seeds. That's even better.
She's asking you why you're so tired.
Why am I tired? I just got off work. It's hot out today. And I'm always tired. That's just how it is. Should I plant comfrey under my fruit tree? Yes. Comfrey's great for fruit trees.
You can plant anything under fruit trees. And the fruit trees will benefit from them being there, and the plants will do great too.
What do you do with big vegetable waste at the end of the season? Corn stalks, tomato vines, broccoli stems, blah, blah, blah.
I take all of the chickens, and whatever they don't eat, when it gets brown and dried out, I bring it to a pile and burn and create ashes, and that's really excellent for the soil.
And that stays in the chicken coop.
It all stays in. They actually like the ashes because they'll get in and they'll dust their feathers. They really get in. They really enjoy the ashes for cleaning their feathers.
And that kills the little mites too.
They're asking you where you work, Nick.
Where do I work? I work at Sunny Farms Nursery in Squim.
The best way to kill grass growing with the wood chips is to pull it. Get rid of it. It becomes good chicken food.
Why do I keep seeing the same comments?
Well, hi from New Zealand. New Zealand's a beautiful place.
What flowers or flowering plants do you plant for primary purpose of attracting pollinators?
Well, I have nasturtium. Nasturtium is just a nice ground cover, and I like the flowers in salads. I don't really plant to encourage.
We've got the pink heather.
It's called Mediterranean pink heather, and what I like about it blooms in the wintertime when nothing else is blooming, and it really encourages bees. So Mediterranean, it's an evergreen, and it blooms in the winter, which is so nice because not much bloom. And then my witch hazel tree also blooms in winter. That's a nice winter bloomer too.
Here's a question about growing things under trees. By growing things under trees, how do they get sun for photosynthesis? Do they need sun?
I'll tell you, it's blowing my mind. So much I don't understand. But under my cherry tree, which is full shade, the strawberries are the biggest and best tasting, way better than the ones in full sun. And we have tomato right now. The stems are growing straight up the tree like they're attached to it, like someone tied it to it, and they have ripe tomatoes. So I don't really get the sun issue. I think the soil, I mean the nutrient dense soil and next to a tree surpasses direct sunlight. Way, and I'm just seeing the evidence. Like I said, I can't deny what I'm seeing.
Can cover crops be used in conjunction with Back to Eden?
Oh, cover crops are awesome. They're really really great for feeding the soil.
And for like a new, fresh Back to Eden garden with 3 to 4 inches of wood chips, a good fall cover crop to literally cover the whole garden. You can do like turnip greens or radishes or whatever, just broadcast the seed. Let that grow up, and as it grows all winter long, it'll hold wood or hold moisture on top of the wood chips. That'll help really speed up the decomposition of the chips to really build your soil. And then you can even let the cover crop compost in place and put more chips on top of that.
Yeah, zucchini will still grow after the flower falls off. That doesn't stop the growth.
How's your wasabi doing?
My wasabi is doing great. It just keeps growing and does awesome. Yeah, blueberry grass clippings are fine for blueberries. Grass clippings is really a nice, quick, soil amendment. Breaks down pretty quick, and it's really full of nutrients.
Can I post what in the comments? I missed it. Sorry. Nikki's reading. Oh, which cover crops? Radishes. Ooh, can't type. What else did I say? Turnip greens.
And clovers are nice.
Yeah. The only thing about clover is sometimes it's once you have it, you kind of have it.
Yeah.
It'll really
stay.
I mean, depending on where you are, I guess, and what kind of clover, but I don't know. Just Google cover crops. I'm too tired. You'll probably even type up a whole post, maybe in a couple days. Collard greens that's an interesting cover crop that works. Okay, so broadcasted into the wood chips. That kind of contradicts the whole moving the wood chip thing aside, and that's what you're supposed to do. But when you broadcast enough seed and water it in really good, the seed kind of works its way down, at least halfway down through 3 inches of wood chips. So it's only got an inch and a half, or say about an inch and a half of chips to go through. And if the chips are staying damp enough, it'll send the taproot right through it and hit the soil and should be fine. I don't know. You can always rake your chips aside like every foot and plant, but do whatever.
A good cover crop is food you will eat. That's a good idea. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I know I didn't go through all those questions already.
Under my fruit trees, I'm just growing about everything. I have zucchini squash, I have tomatoes, I have sunflower seeds that are over the top of the tree. I haven't even headed up yet. Um, Everything's growing under the trees, and I just want to do more because it just does so well.
Silly question. Why do purple beans turn green when cooked? So disappointing. It is so disappointing.
Right.
I wish they'd stay purple.
Eat them raw.
Yeah.
They're good
They'll
raw.
stay purple that way.
They'll stay raw. They'll stay purple while you're eating them raw.
Yep. I just picked a bunch of green beans the other day. Probably need to get out there and pick more. Are you growing purple green beans this season? Or did somebody just tell you that?
No, someone just had a question about it.
Yeah. I think too many who start back to Eden want instant success, that's for sure. And they don't realize that it took you decades to get your method and garden as productive that it is.
Well, you're so right, Amy. That's so true.
Yeah.
You know, it took me 17 years while my orchard was working great to figure out the work in my garden. I was really slow.
There's a compost tea recipe that I'm kind of working with and learning more and more about. I'm going to try and do a video, but the way the compost tea is, it's really high in microbes and fungi and all kinds of stuff, and it inoculates your garden. So if you put a bunch of wood chips down and start using that compost tea recipe, like bi-weekly, you can actually speed up the decomposition and of the chips and all your compost and everything and build your soil really, really fast. So potentially you could get to where Paula is now within 10 years of probably even sooner, honestly, depending on like how much compost and chips you bring in. You can just really like catch up to him soil wise. Hold on, more comments. I'm gonna try and make a video about it soon though. What about okra? I love okra. I have purple growing up.
Soil is what's, you know, the finished material which is already there. Compost is organic material that's on its way to becoming soil.
Yes. What veggies are harm? What is that noise? I wonder if the chicken got out. Hold on 1 second.
I don't know of any vegetables, you know, eaten raw are harmful. You know, because you look at nature, I mean, no animals cook food and they eat everything. So I'm not sure if everything's harmful uncooked.
The little baby rooster is trying to crow.
They're asking you about your giant pumpkin.
The giant pumpkin. I don't even know. I haven't even looked at it. I think it's only like this tall.
It's not growing very quickly.
No. It's not.
Rhubarb leaves you don't want to eat, but the stem is totally good. Good, fine. I eat rhubarb raw all the time. I really love it.
Raw beans give me a tummy ache.
Don't eat so many. Back off on the numbers.
Yeah. Rhubarb with sugar. I eat everything with sugar. Makes everything so good. Sugar and salt. All right. Have you had problems with your dogs eating all of your crops before you can harvest them?
No. I like asparagus raw too. It's really, really good.
Everybody, real quick, go hit the like thingy. The little, whatever it is. Thumbs up.
I don't eat potatoes raw. I like cooked potatoes. You know, my dogs and chickens eat them raw, but I like to cook potatoes.
Is it cool enough for me to get out into the yard? It's been 90s. It's only been like 70s.
It was 80 today.
Yeah, like high 70s, 80. And it feels like
water your garden in the evening. You know, when it's starting to cool down. That's the best time to water. Or maybe early morning.
Early morning definitely beats Evening, because in the evening, if the water sits on the leaves, then you can get your
At 90
like
degrees,
mildew and
I
stuff.
don't think I have any problem at 90 degrees with mildew.
Yeah, but at night, that's when you're what's it called? Powdery mildew sets in. It likes the warm temperatures, but damp. Okay, I only got wood chips from a pine tree. Do I need to do anything to help the needles break down?
No, the needles are great. They'll break down in their own time. They're fine.
That reminds me. Okay. What do you do if the wood chips you got from the town had black walnut in it? The first year nothing grew, but this year they were doing better but not thriving. My garden is 100 feet by 30 feet.
I've never had problem with black walnut or any walnut. I think some things are just slower to break down and become soil than others. I know like alder breaks down really quickly, where some of the conifers take longer. So, but eventually it all gets back to dirt. So, if you're finding that's a problem, just avoid those in the past, or put those around your trees in the orchard where it's not going to matter.
Yeah.
And then just save the nicer stuff for your garden.
Yeah. Or you can even just let the pile just sit there and compost for like a year or two. And the more nitrogen you put into your wood chip pile, the faster it composts. So keep that in mind if you want to keep the pile.
Thank you, Novena. That was kind of you.
Are there any months with especially limited quantity or variety of food?
No, I actually enjoy the winter because I can keep up with my food. During this time of year, I can't even
Pretty
keep up
simple.
because things grow so fast. I can't get to them. So winter I can stay on top of it. So I have food abundance all year long.
Yeah. How old are you, Paul?
I'll be 70 years old in December.
If trees are fertilized when in ground before being cut down, how much fertilizer is in the wood chips? Okay, so he's saying, I'm assuming it's not an organic fertilizer.
It doesn't matter. The wood chips will clear it up. Just put the
Yeah.
wood chips over and all that trash down below. I always say that you're going to repent, and it doesn't matter what happened before. When you repent, everything gets turned around and made well.
What is this? My garden and plants are doing fine. 2 years with wood chips and growing really fast, like Nick said. I used compost tea a week and never had problems growing the best. That's good.
And you'll find that just every year it's going to get better. It just doesn't end. It's just always improving. It's so good.
You look 20 years younger than 70.
Well, thank you.
What was your question that got deleted?
I start planting in April and I finish planting the 1st of September. 1st September planting is really, to me, a big deal because I plant cilantro, lettuce, spinach, arugula, those kind of things. And the beauty of cilantro is that it'll come up in September, get full size, and slow down in October and stay nice all winter and not bolt. And I have fresh cilantro all winter, which is so cool. The fig tree I have is Desert King. And Nick just got a new one.
The Olympian fig.
The Olympian. The Desert King is what I've had here for years, and it gets ripe every year, and it's really great. I love it.
How do you get rid of thistle growing in the middle of a strawberry patch?
You dig. You dig down and get the root. You got to go to the bottom and get the root because if you break it off, it's coming back. And the strawberries, you just set them back after you dig. Just put them back in the ground. They're good.
Yeah. I asked about the wood chips / fertilizer in the wood chips. You said don't worry about it. We repent. It will be fine. I don't understand. Thanks. Okay, so they don't understand.
What?
The whole that it'll be fine with the trees being fertilized before they were chipped.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what, I buy my trees. I have no idea how they were raised. They're probably raised totally inorganically. But when they come to my place, they're going to repent. They're going to grow in good soil, and all that stuff that happened before it will be history. It's not going to even matter.
Okay, this guy's got another question. What does your planting schedule look like to have fresh food year round?
I explain that. I start planting in April, and I plant through the whole summer all the way until September 1st. And September 1st is my last planting because after that, nothing's going to come up.
Cool. Now we definitely answered the question.
With greens, with like lettuce and spinach, cilantro, those kind of things, as soon as the plant is big enough to eat, I plant the next row. So I always have them coming consistently all summer long, really nice and fresh. I don't like old, tough stuff. So as soon as you begin to eat it, plant the next one.
Hi, I would love to hear Paul's thoughts on growing in shade. I have mostly shade in my yard because of the neighbor's trees, and I'm wondering if Paul has any advice on how I might still be able to grow my favorite things like tomatoes and strawberries in a mostly shaded environment.
Strawberries are no problem. Tomatoes could be a challenge, but under trees, plant fruit trees. I'm amazed how well they're doing under the fruit trees. But there's a lot of plants. All your brassicas, your greens love shade. So you'll be limited to what you can grow, but you can grow a lot of good food in shade. I use my greenhouse. It has no roof on it, so I get direct sunlight. But I'm growing basil in it because it's too cold here to grow basil outside. But in the greenhouse, because it keeps the heat in through the glass, it's doing really well.
Why was there tilling on the OT?
Old Testament.
Yeah.
Oh, that's huge. But I'll tell you, because I asked the Creator. It started with Adam, and he knew better. And I couldn't figure out why he tilled when he knew better. So I asked the Creator, and what he told me was huge. He said, I came down for my normal walk. Adam, let's go for a walk this evening. Where are you? Over here hiding. Why are you hiding? Well, I ate that fruit you told me not to, and I'm naked. So God expressed his forgiveness and redemption by killing an innocent animal and taking the skins to cover them and provide clothing. And so Adam outside the garden, it took him quite a while to clear all the covering off. He's not fasting while he's doing it. He's eating. After he got the covering all taken off, he had to develop a tilling device. That took him some time. Then God got my attention when he asked me, and where do you think he got the seeds for the garden? I totally lost it. He's getting the seeds from the stuff he's eating. He's totally provided for it, but he's not getting it. And then the Holy Spirit, whenever he gives me revelation, does confirmation. He took me to Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 5, where Jesus posed a question. Or he says, consider the birds of the air. They don't sow, they don't reap, and they don't store food in barns, but your heavenly Father provides for them. And then he poses a question to get our attention. Says, aren't you more valuable than them? And what Jesus is trying to say is, the Father plans on taking care of you all in the same way, but you took on an orphan spirit. You believed a lie, and you thought you had no father, and you've been struggling ever since. You see, Satan came and told Adam, you're an orphan. You don't have a father. And Adam believed it, and he's acting like an orphan like all the rest of the human race. I'm not an orphan. I know I have a father, and he brings sun and rain, and my plants produce seed. If I didn't plant my garden, it would plant itself, and I would always have far more food than I need. And I'd never go to the store, and I really get his provision. It's totally abundant, unlimited, and there's no lack. I don't fertilize the little greenhouse because it's all wood chips. The ground in the greenhouse is all wood chips, so I just plant right in it, and things will do great.
Let's see if I can get some more questions. Ugh, tired.
I'm not against starting plants in the greenhouse, but I just noticed the nature of the Creator doesn't do that. So you can do whatever you want, but I'm just finding that wherever you go, wherever you live, everything you need grows there. And to try to make things grow that shouldn't be there is a lot of hard work and labor, and who needs it?
Hi, Paul. I'm the guy who stayed on your property for a week a year ago. Um, Wait, I didn't properly thank you for letting me stay. I was going through hard times but I'm so grateful to you. Changed my life.
Well, bless you. I'm glad. Thank you, Chris.
You ever used netting or row covers to prevent cabbage worms?
No, I've never used covers or row coverings.
It is weird though, like there's so many of those cabbage looper moths flying around and laying on all the brassicas, but they're not touching them. It's not
Well,
weird, but
I'll tell you what happened to me.
yeah.
I had all that issue when I used to till my ground. I would plant my fall crop of broccoli every year. It would get beautiful, full size. The heads would set on, and the thing would just die because the cabbage maggots ate the roots. Then when I started, it was so interesting. When I started doing wood chips in the garden, I didn't want to do the whole thing, so I did like a third of the garden wood chips just to make sure it worked. So how I was totally brain dead I was. So I moved some of my I thinned my broccoli and I planted some into the wood chips and it was so awesome. As usual, all the ones in the dirt totally died, but the ones in the wood chip didn't. And what God showed me was when that moth flew across, the soil was accessible, but the wood chips weren't, and he couldn't get into them. And I tell you, the covering is so powerful; it just blows my mind. All the benefits. And I've never had a cabbage root issue after I did wood chips ever.
Okay, the Bible says not to eat the first harvest, or yeah, the first few harvests on a new fruit tree. Okay, and then they say, was that instruction before or after the fall? Does this apply? Does this also apply to grafted trees? As I don't know when the science originally began fruiting.
Well, there's some things written in the Bible that I had an interesting experience with the 7-year rest because I was really wanting to cooperate with God and do what He did. And so I asked Him how I could do that because I couldn't figure out how I could stop my fruit trees from producing. To go pick all the apples off? And then God kind of smiled at me. It was so cool. He says, if you notice in my garden, I don't let it rest every year because it's always resting, and so is yours. That was written for people who are under the effect of the fall, who are following the 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 like how can I say it the instruction from the devil to till, and when you till ground, it's stressed and has to rest. And as far as not eating the first fruits, I mean, I just don't see any I don't know, I just don't see any issue there because when I plant my trees now, the first year they have 30 apples, just and they're good. So I don't see any reason not to eat them.
Where did it go? Okay. If part of my yard seasonally floods, would the wood chips be swept away if I put them there?
No way. I'll tell you the coolest thing. These Amish people, they had been planting these truck farms or truck gardens on this slope, and one of them had put his in wood chips. All the rest didn't. They had this major flood, and everybody's stuff washed out, but the ones in the wood chips didn't move. And now that whole bank is covered with wood chips because they got it. Wood chips don't move in water. It is awesome. It's totally amazing.
It's true. My garden back home was on a slight slope, and then like the center of the garden kind of came down to like it was almost like a ditch, but it wasn't a ditch. So all the water from like everywhere kind of just flooded right through my garden, which was nice because the slightest rain kind of pushed all the water to my garden. So it's just extra irrigation. But it rained and rained and rained and rained and rained last spring there, and I had ducks swimming in my garden. There was 5 inches of water in like the low spot, and I went out to the garden to just go check on things, see how I was doing, and there was two mallards just swimming in circles right in my garden. It's kind of like, haha, your garden's flooded. Rubbing it in.
I want to address the question about planting in mounds. That is the dumbest thing you can do. And you're so right. I mean, here you're raising the gray, it's going to dry out. I mean, what is up with planting in mounds? It's just dumb. I have beautiful cucumbers all in a row in my flat garden, totally producing. I have great zucchinis under my trees and wood chips, totally flat on the ground, that are totally thriving. What's up with making mounds? That you're raising the gray, they're going to dry out quick. I mean, I don't know where these ideas even come from. They make no sense and they're stupid.
Should we feel any guilt for eating animals?
I don't feel guilt because God made it available to us there after the flood. There was no plants growing. I don't feel guilty, but I know that they're not good for me, and so I avoid it as much as possible because I don't think they're good for my body. I don't think it's really good for us. And for the next 1,000 years, we won't be eating any anyway. So I'm just getting used to it because I don't think they're good for us. But I don't have guilt. I don't feel guilty because I've had sheep here and I very kindly come up to them, they don't even see me. I take my 22 and I hit them right in the head. They don't even know they got hit. So they don't suffer. And so it's not like I'm not mean to them. I'm really kind while they live. And so I have no guilt.
Yes, the right way to raise animals for food is to raise them so they have only one bad day in their life, and that's their last day, which really they won't even know is a bad day because if you do it properly, it'd be real quick. Like, that's what I have to say on that one. Okay, back to eating gardening. Put down paper/wood chips in garden. Along fence line, a mulberry weed tree continues to grow through the chips. Okay. What will stop the tree from growing throughout the wood chips?
You can make a cement barrier because those roots are going to. I mean, roots are not stupid. They know where food is, and they're going to go for the food. And so you'll need to make a barrier, something that will stop them. Say, this is it. You're not going any further.
Was it the roots or the?
It's roots.
No.
Wheat.
Along the fence. A mulberry.
What will stop the tree from growing through the wood chips? The roots.
Okay. Well, if it is the tree, cut the tree down as much as you can. What did you say? Put diesel,
yeah,
around the cambium layer?
You can put diesel fuel right on the cambium layer, and that'll take it out.
Yeah. Okay, I have a huge pile of wood chips that I do not plan to use for a couple more years. I planted one watermelon seed on each side. Their vines have covered the entire pile, and it is producing melons. Cool.
Awesome.
How about vertical gardening for small spaces? I'm trying to grow more using vertical growth, fencing mostly.
I don't know. Do whatever works for you. I mean, we all have different places, different things. We're different people, and so whatever works. But I always encourage you to make it easy. If it gets difficult and hard, that's not the way to do it.
Do you go by the book of Leviticus after the flood for your meats and the way they should be kosher?
Yes, the Leviticus is an amazing book. Had the medical profession read that, they could advance thousands of years quicker than they did, because the Israelites were taught hygiene, sterile technique, quarantine, and proper diet. And it's right. Everything there is for when God told the Israelites when they left Egypt, He says, "None of the diseases the Egyptians have will come on you." He didn't give them some kind of special curative like aura. He just taught them how to live, and He gave them proper diet, and it's just perfect. And it's just, I tell you, there's such wisdom in Leviticus. All the Torah is really, really a lot of wisdom, a lot of good instruction.
Okay, here's a good question. I did carrots last night, assuming she means I planted carrots last night in a little ditch I made with my fingers after pulling back the chips. Then I watered them in and didn't cover them. Once they sprout, do I put chips back on them?
Wait till longer than sprout and let them get a little bit of size, and then move the wood chips over the ground, and you're good.
I honestly, a lot of people put the chips back. Like you say, gravity works, and if you just pull the chips back, by the time the plant's big enough, the wood chips have already kind of worked their way back.
Yeah, Nick has sugar snap peas in the orchard. They're great.
Yep. I've done the back to eating garden, but all of my greens taste bitter. What am I doing wrong, and what can I do to change this? I even added azomite to the soil before I put the mulch on top.
They're bitter because the soil's not good yet. You're going to find over time, you'll watch the bitterness leave because none of my food tastes bitter. And I know what I'm talking about because when I first started, they were bitter too.
Could also mean they're bolting.
Mhm.
They get a little bitter. I have a pan. Oh, okay. Yeah, there's 44 people. Wait, somebody just unliked it? What's up with that? The nerve. Um, do you like to add fresh fish to your diet?
No, because the ocean's polluted now. Fukushima has corrupted the ocean, and I don't eat anything from the ocean.
Okay, 31. Whew. It's getting worried there with the likes. It's like, I'm just kidding. Don't have what resource in Kentucky? Fish? Oh, fish. Yeah. Okay.
Well, freshwater fish is okay. Of course, nowadays streams and stuff
Yeah.
aren't clean anymore. So you got to really it's a challenge to find clean water.
Besides apples and potatoes, what produce do you harvest and store/preserve?
Um, I'll get the cabbage stay pretty good in the cooler. What- but I usually just I don't store and preserve. I let things grow. Like say I plant winter crops and I try to pick things live. You know, live food is really a big deal to me. So I try to eat live food. What kind of sugar snaps did you plant, Nick?
I think they're called Cascade sugar snap peas. They're from Territorial. What are your thoughts on fermenting vegetables with salt in jars for the winter?
You do the fermenting.
Yeah. I mean, kimchi is just pretty much salt and pepper and water and vegetables. So salt's a preservative. Um, it's good. I like salt. I don't really care.
Leaf drop on peppers is overwatering.
It could be overwatering. It could be. It's more than likely just overwater. Yeah. Are you watering a lot? Because peppers like to dry out in between waterings.
You know, living in the city, I don't. You know, manures are getting to be a challenge nowadays because of what animals eat. So I'm really that's why I love wood chips. My wood chips do superior to any manure. I tell you, I love wood chips. Which manure isn't that big of a deal as far as I'm concerned.
Worm castings is your best manure.
They're the best, yeah, for sure.
And if you can get worm castings that were raised in and fed alfalfa meal, like just like alfalfa meal, that's a lot better than worm castings that were raised in horse manure. Because just think about it. There's more nutrients in alfalfa meal than there is horse manure. So there's that little tidbit.
I like to put a covering in my garden every fall, just like the Creator does. The fall is the best time to apply covering because that's fermented foods are very healthy for the gut, for sure. You know, the Bible talks about fermented foods. This is really cool. You know, the Bible doesn't leave anything out. You know, Paul's writing to Timothy, his son of the faith. He makes this statement: Timothy, drink a little wine for your stomach's sake and your often infirmity. Timothy, you're not well all the time because you're not getting good digestion. If you get fermentation in your stomach with wine, you'll get good gut flora. You'll digest your food. You'll get well. I think it's awesome. The Bible doesn't miss anything.
My apple tree was not maintained for years. We pruned it early in the year. This year, it's so heavy with where'd you go? It's so heavy with fruit that its branches are starting to droop. Is this okay? Do I need to do anything?
No, just you may want to thin, you know, but Don't let your branches break. Take some weight off. But that's what happens when you prune. Pruning works.
Mm-hmm. I want to talk about trees drooping. Look at his orchard. They just literally just
my trees, the branches are on the ground.
They look like vines.
Alfalfa is really rich because the roots go so deep. It's a really powerful green for the animals.
All right, where did it go? How do you know when beets are ready to harvest?
Well, when you want to eat them.
Whenever.
Yeah,
they could be this big, or they could be this
size.
big, or they could be this big.
Yeah, just whenever you want to eat them.
Questions on here, but just on my phone because it's easier to see. Yeah. But I post. Well, the last 2 weeks I've been posting in the Back to Eden Gardening Method Facebook group and getting questions on there, and then I have those questions to read off the poll while I'm waiting for questions to come up in here. So
okay, rabbit manure is great. The fish manure is great. It's all good. Everything, just anything organic turns back to dirt.
Can you eat cabbage after the cabbage worms and pooped?
Yeah, just wash it good.
Nice thing about cabbage loopers is their poop stays green, so you know it's fresh. And it's just plant times and microbiome.
Oh, I'm so glad, Patricia. I've inspired you to read the Word. The Word is awesome.
Oh, bummer.
Bless you. How do I know my apples are ready? When they fall off. That's the best way to know. When they fall off, you know they're ready.
Can you guys see this video? Like, is it playing? I don't know what's going on. I think something happened.
The wine in the Bible is alcoholic. It's fermented, for sure. Here's the word is, Scripture says, do not be drunk with wine, but be filled with the Holy Spirit. And the analogy is very, very interesting. You see, when you're drunk with wine, you're under a different control. You're not in control. And in the same way, we're to be led by the Spirit, where the Spirit's in control. I love the analogy because when you're drunk, you're not in control. The alcohol has control of you. And in the same way, we're to yield to the Spirit, let the Spirit have control of us.
Right now, grass is under my apple tree. Should I dig it out before adding wood chips?
What's that?
No. Right now, grass is under my apple tree. Should I dig it out before adding wood chips?
No, it's a green material. Cover with wood chips, let it compost and feed your soil. Don't dig it out. It's a really good resource. Just bury it, let it die.
Okay. Nick, I missed what you said about inventing a new compost tea. The compost tea will speed up decomposition? ? I didn't invent the recipe, but I'm kind of tweaking the recipe so it's my own. And yeah. So I'm gonna do a video about it. So just keep your eyes and ears peeled.
Starting a garden with Bermuda or invasive grass, if you don't have time, you need to get it all out. If you have time, you can cover it with paper and wood chips and let it die. But it has to get out of there because if you leave it there, the wood chips encourage it to grow more. So it has to be removed, either by killing it with cover or pulling it out.
Hey Mod, can you find the link to the Back to Eden gardening group Facebook thing? You're quicker than I am at this stuff. Let's see if I can do it. I don't think I can do it on my computer. It'll pause the live thing. Oh wait, but I can do it on my phone. Duh.
Epsom salts is great. I don't use it, I just, again, I always go to nature, and nature's not using Epsom salts, but it is a wonderful, magnesium. It's really good minerals. So if you have it, you want to use it, it's going to be good.
The thing about the whole magnesium thing with um, like people see their tomato, for example, people see tomato leaves starting to turn purple or even pepper leaves. Um, and they're like, oh, it's a magnesium deficiency, but in reality, it's not. It's like you're watering too much on cool nights, so the plant just. I mean, adding a little extra never hurts, but that's more than likely the problem.
As far as Israel's repentance, I'm responding. I'm teaching. Referring to the land. You see, they abandoned and left the land arid, and it became a desert. They've come back in the sense of repenting. They've restored the land. They are starting to grow things, and by doing that, all of nature's responding by raining and snowing, and things are growing really well. So it's the land I'm talking about, not the people.
What am I doing? Skip. Okay, hopefully I did it. Yeah, I just. There you go.
I had quack grass, which is really invasive. It's even more invasive than Bermuda. And I put the wood chips a foot deep, and I was totally blown away. Nothing came through. It totally killed all of it. So the reality is, if you cut out light and air, everything dies. So if you can remove light and air, the Bermuda or whatever is going to die.
It'll just be really hard to plant that year. You'll have to
Yeah.
wait a pretty long time before you can get some stuff going.
The cabbage moths left when I got really good soil, and the wood chips really didn't. Once I put the wood chips down, I never had them again. When I used to till, I had them all the time. So the wood chips really changed that whole thing with the cabbage moths.
Trying to get a link from my phone for my Instagram page so I can just put that in here, but Karen, you might have to do that because it keeps sending me back to my through the app. Oh no, it's not working. Let's see. Point it down. Paul, I've noticed that now I use leaves as an organic cover crop. I have no more moles, like I did when I was, like I did when my garden soil was uncovered and hard.
Oh, that's great.
Can you find a link to my Instagram?
I've never had that happen with my cauliflower. I've always just had, so I'm not really sure. Maybe I'll tell you what might have happened. You might have broke the original one off. It's just these are the side shoots. So maybe the first one, unknown to you, got broken off, and that now they're putting side shoots out.
Could possibly also be the the variety, but I don't know. Bowling Green, Kentucky. Paul, what's your opinion on New Jersey? Like the what? NJ? I don't know. Oh, New Jersey tomatoes? Do they grow a lot of tomatoes in New Jersey?
I don't know. I grew a lot of tomatoes in California. They do really great in warm climates. I grow tomatoes here, but they're not real big ones.
Any idea for how long it takes, or how long it took for the chips to break down when you put them a foot thick?
Well, they start breaking down immediately at the base, but and over time they settle, so you have to keep adding more. But yeah, as soon as the stuff gets to the ground, it starts breaking down.
It takes a while for,
You got like money in the bank. It's great.
yeah.
Covering is such a significant issue with God. You know how His blood covers us. I mean, covering is such a huge spiritual significant thing, and it's just I mean, you look at all levels how there's covering. There's coverings in families, covering in government. I mean, there's always these coverings. It's just it's just a really huge principle in God.
Hi, Paul. It's Amy and Matt from North Carolina. Thank you for the magazine. Just got tonight from camping. I guess just got back tonight from camping and caught this. You get, yeah, okay.
Well, God, I'm glad you caught it. I'm glad you got the magazine. Great hearing from you. Bless you guys.
Guys, I'm gonna be in North Carolina soon in September. Going to visit Joel Salatin and Justin Rhodes and Casey, my buddy Casey from Honey Tree Farm. It's gonna be fun. I'll be there for a week. Yeah.
Well, bless you, Edie. Yea, God, thank you. Are you experiencing any new plants this year? Are you experiencing any new plants?
Not really new plants for me, but plants that normally don't grow in this area. I'm experimenting with seeing how well they do. Like my peanuts, that's not normal to grow in Washington. Um, what else? I don't know. I grew a row of purslane. That's kind of new. I've never planted it. Not really anything else. Paul, have you ever read? Did you see that one?
No, I did. I haven't read that book.
I can't see. Blind. Any more questions? Let's see. What's the best one?
I don't know of anything. I'm finding that everything grows well in a wood chip environment. It's not like certain plants, like certain soils. Like I have the coolest thing. I have wasabi growing next to sage. I have lavender growing next to blueberries. There's no issues in a wood chip environment. You can grow everything.
Pretty much. Or when your plant starts to turn yellow and starts drying out, then you can pretty much go ahead and pull the whole plant and see the little peanuts. It's pretty fun.
Does Paul believe in chop and drop? No, I don't like the clutter. I take everything to my chickens, let them process it, and turn it back to really nice soil. I don't like a lot of junk in my garden.
Neither do I. Do you plant carrots in a single or wide row? Is it too late to sow carrots? I'm in zone 7 or zone 5.
I just planted carrots in my garden last week for winter.
We're zone 7B. So
I'll answer my question about my kids growing food. Once you've had the real, would you be satisfied with a counterfeit? All my kids, grow gardens because they had real good food growing up. They're not going to eat junk. No, Japanese beetles are no problem. I don't even know where they are, if they're even here.
I don't think they are here anywhere. Like anywhere meaning anywhere else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, grass clippings is a nice, ground cover. I mean, it's not rough. It's all the same size, and it looks kind of nice and neat, as opposed to all kinds of different vines and stems and stuff.
Do your chickens eat comfrey?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What's the first step to planting a fruit tree?
Dig a hole and plant it at ground level and put wood chips around it. Don't ever put anything in the soil. Always plant trees in the existing soil. Don't ever put anything in there. Don't mix anything in the soil. Just plant in the soil and cover the wood chips, and you're good.
Do you want to say why?
If you put it in the soil, it ties up nitrogen and really stresses the soil out. Washington State University did a very interesting experiment. They had some really heavy clay ground. They planted 3 fruit trees. In the first tree, they dug out all the soil and brought in a really nice sandy loam and planted the tree. The second one, they took the soil and mixed in all kinds of organic material, really homogenized it real well. The third, they planted directly in the clay ground and put a mulch covering over it. In 3 years, they examined the trees. The first 2 didn't grow at all. The third one did well. What they found was, in those first 2 places, they created a clay pot. The water went through all that fine material, hit that hard pan where they stopped digging, and water laid there, and the roots rotted. I'm telling you, don't lie to the plant. The plant's going to get outside of whatever you mix and say, "Why'd you lie to me?" I tell my plant, this is our home. This is where you're going to live. I'm going to do my best to upgrade that soil with wood chips. But I'm going to be honest with you, this is home. So get used to it and move and live in it.
Yep. There's a good question somewhere. Oh, okay. Well, this one's first. Paul, what's your view on veganism?
In Genesis, the first chapter, God gave us our diet: vegetables, fruits, and seeds. It's pretty much His idea on how we're to eat. I think it's the best diet. And I eat eggs. I like eggs because my chickens really eat well, and that's really good. It's it's like a complete whole food. And I may eat, I'll eat lamb on Passover or whenever it's available. But ideally, a plant-based diet is the ideal from my perspective. And it's again what God said in His Word.
So I take it the answer is no. Do you think it's bad do you think it's bad for us to eat eggs from backyard chickens every day?
No,
hold on. I've heard eating eggs every day is not good for us. ...
Well, my dogs eat eggs every day, and they're really good health. When my eggs are in season, I eat them every day, and I've experienced no lack of health or any problems. So I don't know where they're coming from.
Okay, well, you have soil in Arizona. You just need to build it. So add wood chips.
Yeah. Any tree you leave a central leader on. Yeah, all your conifers, they wouldn't be a tree without a central leader.
Yeah. It'd be kind of weird looking.
Sure, you can. Anything can compost. I mean, I think the scripture is real clear. It says, "From dust we came, from dust return." Everything God's made turns back to compost, no matter whether you cooked it or not. It doesn't matter. Everything's going to go back to dirt. I haven't grown any roselle, no. Ground ivy. Ivy is a challenge. I mean, I don't know, whose idea it was, but that thing is invasive. I've seen it move into houses. I don't have any place for ivy. Like I have a little bit out here on this someone made us a really cool. And I worship a God, and I have it, but it's very much contained. But I don't have any liking for ivy. I'm sorry.
Should I cut my central leader on my apple trees? If so, should I do it in the winter?
Well, again, I'm maintaining my trees where I can reach them. So when something gets beyond reach, I cut to a branch heading out. It could be coming off a central leader, but the central leader no longer becomes a leader. Now the branch heading out becomes a leader.
Do you have any tips for pruning blueberries?
The same tips I use for pruning everything. You open it up, nothing crosses over. You get plenty of airspace. You cut close to where you have at the collar, and pruning is very simple. It's just arranging everything fitting, and there's nothing different. I prune everything the same way. I like to prune my blueberries in spring when the growth starts coming on, because sometimes you get some dieback in the winter, and when the new growth comes on, you can see what's dead. You can get all that out.
I don't even know anything about the whole Area 51 raid thing. I'm not tracking.
Cutting costs on buying plants is buy them small. Don't get big ones. And the advantage of small is you get a much better root system. When you buy big plants, they cut a lot of roots and they're not grow really well. So buying smaller things is how you cut costs. And if they're in good shape and you get wood chips, they're going to grow fast and you'll be good.
I haven't heard anything from David, and I'm supposed to be helping him with the like promoting the what the heck's it called? It's like a GoFundMe, but it's not GoFundMe. It's I don't know what it is. I forget. But I don't know. He was gonna let me know when he was going to launch it, but I haven't heard from him. So
David Devine.
Yeah,
I think he's hoping to get the book out in September. Is what I heard.
Yeah, the goal is to get the book out by September, but he was supposed to launch like a fund thing to where people can like pre-order it to pay for the book to have it printed. But I don't know. He hasn't said anything.
You just plant your apple trees. If the central leader isn't crowding anything else, don't cut it out. It's just like many times you have like I had a pear tree with 3 leaders coming up, so I took the center out just to open it up. But if you just have one central leader and branches coming off it, don't cut it out. You're good. Yeah, always plant dwarf trees because otherwise they get too big. My dwarf trees are huge. I like to, trees are challenged starting from seeds, but everything else I start from seeds. The problem with starting apple trees from seeds is won't be the same as the original apple because they got cross-pollinated. They have another influence, so they won't be the same apple.
If we eat 3 eggs a week, we drastically increase the chance of getting cancer.
Well, I do 6 a day when my chickens are doing it, and I will never get cancer. I have no cancer, and the cancer won't even live here because my body isn't living in an alkaline environment, and cancer cannot exist in an alkaline environment. It cannot survive. I don't care how many eggs I eat a day because my body is alkaline because of all the other food I eat. So that is totally ridiculous. Makes no sense.
Have you ever tried Seckel pear or Cortland apple?
No, I don't have either one of those. They're probably great, but I don't have it. Yeah, store-bought eggs are toxic. They're not eggs.
Yeah, talk about the oh boy, cholesterol thing, like that study somebody did with like your eggs or something, like how yours don't have any.
Oh, cholesterol in eggs isn't how God made it. And when Sunny Farm, we have a place called Sunny Farm. That's where Nick works, and the guy was raising these eggs, free range, And so the state came in because they wanted to test them because they want to make sure this is okay. So they came in and tested these eggs. They could find no cholesterol. So they came back 3 times. They thought something was wrong with their equipment. 3 times with 3 pieces of equipment, and they could find no cholesterol because they didn't have cholesterol. Cholesterol is only in eggs that are raised in an unnatural setting because God didn't put cholesterol in eggs. That's not good for us. He didn't make it that way. And so all this stuff, all these issues with food nowadays is because they're raised wrong. They're incorrect in how they grow and what they're fed, and they have issues.
Somebody says pruning is scary.
If pruning is an art form, and it's one of the most fun things I do because I keep arranging and developing my trees, and they keep getting nicer and nicer. And every year I get new options. So it's this most amazing, fun thing to do. And it's something I totally love. So it's not at all scary. It's something, a pleasure, a joy. And the tree just loves it. They come back just profoundly. They just totally grow well. And it's a really cool thing to do. And God prunes. In John 15, it says, and my Father prunes the trees so they bear more fruit. So God prunes. So it's not scary.
What about grafting more than one kind of apple into a healthy tree branch?
I have multiple varieties of my apples. There's no problem. Where we live, it's nice to have tomatoes start out. You just get them earlier, but I've actually had tomatoes grow from seed in the ground and produce. It's just a little bit later, but they do happen.
Have you ever cloned an apple tree but oh my gosh. I'm assuming it's by cutting a sucker and rooting it.
What I'm doing now is I'll get my root suckers, and I have actually one of I'm growing now because I want to graft a tree into it. So I can use my root suckers as rootstock, which is really totally great. And you can be using all your root suckers and plant, graft into them, and now you have a dwarf tree.
This is interesting. Since our food supply has less minerals, vitamins, nutrients than compared to 50 years ago, in my opinion, it contributes to mental health problems. I work in that field and see the difference.
I think Alzheimer's, I think all disease is a result of malnutrition. I totally agree with you. Totally. Speaking of Alzheimer's and dementia, in India, which has a huge population that are not well off financially, there's less than 1% of Alzheimer's or dementia. And the reason is very significant. They eat turmeric every day in their curry, and turmeric is really good for your brain, really therapeutic and nutritious for the brain. So I think, you have these issues that are very, very clear what it's saying.
What are your thoughts on homeschooling?
I homeschool all my children, and if you look in the scripture in the Torah, God taught the Israelites how to homeschool their children. And if you look at cultures in the world today, every Sabbath they bless their family, and they understand the power of blessing, and they were taught originally to teach their children at home. And the whole concept of public education is insane. It's basically government funded daycare. It doesn't work. It's a failure, and it's the stupidest thing you could ever do for your children, send them to school, because they're not going to learn. And whenever you get a bunch of kids together, the jerk always becomes a leader, and you have chaos. It's not functional, and so it's just a really bad idea. Public schooling.
When's the best time to cut scion wood and graft into a new tree?
You want to cut your scion wood when they're dormant, like in the winter, and then wait till the spring comes and they. Good night, Amy and Matt. Thanks for coming on.
What was the question to the answer you missed? Okay, well, here's a question. After planting seed, what plants do you thin? Like your carrots.
I thin vegetables that have foliage because if foliage gets too compacted, they don't do well. I don't thin carrots or beets, any root vegetables. They're fine. They'll move out of each other's way. But plants with foliage cabbage and broccoli and lettuce, I give them room because if they get smashed together, they don't do well.
Is it okay if they can call if they have questions?
You can always call me. If it's during the day, I'll probably be outside and I'll miss the call. But if you leave your name and phone number, I always return my calls. And so you're always welcome to call.
Any more questions, or should we wrap it up? What do people think? Any thoughts on exposing the root flare on your trees?
What's a root flare?
I have no idea.
I'm not sure what the root flare is. Help me understand.
Yeah, leave quite. Well, I don't know. I don't have questions on. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, when's the best time to cut and graft scions?
Okay, you cut the scion in the dormant season during winter when all the the tree's dormant. Then you keep it in a cool place, and in spring when the sap starts coming into the tree, you see the buds start to swell. That's when you graft in. Well, you should never ever leave roots exposed. I mean, roots should always be in the ground. When they get exposed, they're going to dry out and die. I have my blueberries are growing in wood chips 7.0 pH, and they're totally thriving, doing beautiful. You don't have to have an acid pH. At 7.0 at center, and at center everything does well. So don't be trying to get it, lower. The wood chips will always be 7, and everything grows at 7.
How how old are your plants?
Well,
like these people's. Yeah, how old are yours?
well, my fruit trees are 40 years old.
Your blueberries.
My blueberries are probably 20 years old.
I gotcha. Were they the first ones you planted?
The ones along the fence, yeah. And they're awesome. I mean, those things are loaded every year. They're just totally do great, and it's all in wood chips, and they're beautiful. When something breaks, you can put it back, but it's not going to be strong. So I just cut it off. It'll grow back. It'll be okay. I mean, trying to fix something that's broken I have found hasn't really been that beneficial. And things really grow back quickly from pruning. And so let something grow back strong, healthy, connected, and you'll be good.
Okay, your leaves on your blueberries, they're red.
Well, depends on the blueberry. I have different varieties, and some are kind of a bluish green, some are green, some are depends on who the blueberry is.
Yeah.
If they're all red and not growing, it may be a sign of dehydration, or yeah, because you
could
should
also be high iron in your water or just in your soil. They'll be fine. Just let them be. They'll be good. How long did it take to get your blueberries up to the Paul Gautschi level, unlimited abundance?
It's progressional. It took it as soon as I put the wood chips on, I saw changes, and every year it got better. So it's just the change happens immediately, and it's progressional, and they keep getting better, non-ending.
Okay, here's your root flare thing. The root flare or root collar is the area of the base of the tree where the trunk transitions from trunk and bark tissues into root system tissues. So kind of just where it spreads.
Yeah, so I don't put dirt. I wouldn't put raised dirt above it because that can suffocate. But wood chips you can put as thick as you want around it, and it's no issue, no problem at all.
Oh, what is this? Dirt doctor expression. Huh, I'll have to show you that video for them.
About I didn't have any fruit trees when I came. It was just a big grass field, so I just brought in trees. So you just bring whatever you need.
Your peach tree has red leaves. I don't know what that is. Paul, do you harvest rainwater?
Yes, I have some gutters, and I collect rainwater in these big containers, and I use it to water my garden or plants.
They're just like 55-gallon drums, right?
55-gallon drums, yeah. Blueberries, have really surface, abundant roots, and they really love wood chips because they go right out in it, because they don't go deep, and they're very fine hair root, and so wood chips are really a great environment for blueberries.
Yeah, blueberries like a really high, well, carbon environment because fungus thrives in carbon-rich environments, and the fungus and the blueberries have a what's the word where they go together? They like work together.
Symbiotic.
Yeah, brain dead. They have a symbiotic relationship where they take care of each other.
I don't know about what makes the leaves red. I don't know about. I haven't had rust, so I'm not sure what that looks like. So I can't answer that. I'm sorry.
Excuse me. All right. Well, I think we might call it a day or a night. What do you think?
I'm okay. Whatever you want to do.
Any last minute questions? You have until, or you've got a couple minutes. We're going to end it at an hour and 40 minutes, just so it's even. Yes, thank you all for stopping by.
Thank you. When's the next time?
Oh, next time. That's a good question. Let's see.
Shalom to you.
Okay, so the next one will be the 8th, which is not next Thursday, but the following Thursday. And it'll be same time, 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time.
I'll say hi to Carol.
Yeah, that's all you need to know.
Thank you, little house. Busy little house.
All right. Adios, folks. Till next time. Oh, we've got one more. Hold on. I was wondering what you do with borets.
What are they?
I don't know. Yeah, we'll answer that. Okay, yeah, it's boars.
Nothing. I just ignore them. They don't bother me.
Yeah, you don't really have that problem. Is Port Townsend a good place to stay when on vacation here?
But yeah, Port Townsend is beautiful. It's like an old Victorian town. They really made it beautiful. They wanted to make it a sale, didn't happen, but it's a really beautiful town.
A lot of hipsters, though. Not necessarily my kind of people, but like the mountain.
The town is as far as the aesthetically, the town's
yeah, it's a cool town. Interesting people. All right, I'm calling up. It's an hour and 40 minutes. Adios. Peace. Want to say bye real quick?
Bye. Bless you.
Yes.